Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. It's your boy Foot Fungus Lettuce here with another video. And today we're doing a podcast. It's going to be a new podcast we're going to be doing probably like every week, probably not every week, knowing us, but we're going to try to do it every week. And basically, we're just going to be talking about random things. And the two people that are usually going to be on the podcast, we might have some special guests here and there, but for the most part, it's going to be me, Putty from Gamer Potheads, and John, aka Compo from Compo Reviews on Instagram.
Hey, do you like foot lettuce on your Burger King?
Wow.
All right, guys. So today we're going to be talking about the Mandela Effect. So basically, we're not going to go into like individual Mandela effects. We probably are, knowing us, but I just wanted to talk about the whole idea of it and what we think about it. And yeah, so I'll start off first. I think the Mandela Effect doesn't exist. Honestly, I think that it's just something that we misremember certain things and we think we remember them a certain way, but we really don't. And I think that people just like start throwing random things out there that they think have changed, but they haven't, and it just creates a whole spiral of a shit spiral on the internet. But
Shit
what do you guys
spiral.
think?
Uh, I used to play a mandolin in Italy, so I don't know
And
what kind
now
of
do
effect
they
that had on me.
now instead of calling it a mandolin, do they call it a mandarin? Is
I
that
ate a
where you're-
No,
mandarin
that
once.
that would be the guy from Iron Man, which they did incorrectly in the MCU, which I'm not going to get into anyway. But that is the wrong thing.
That's
Unless
the wrong podcast.
oh, my
I
bad.
actually ate at the mandarin once, and it did have an effect on me.
It's the Mandarin effect. It's a new thing.
Uh,
It's when your diarrhea speaks to you in the toilet. It's called the
Wait,
Mandarin.
wait. So was that wait? Was that the effect that I had when they fucked up the Mandarin in the third Iron Man movie? And that's
Yes,
called
that
the
is
Mandarin
also the
effect?
Mandarin effect.
Okay, gotcha. All right,
so there's
that's
two.
what I was
So on
thinking.
top of there being a mandolin effect, there's two mandarin effects.
Yes.
There's quadruple
And
Mandarin.
no, the Mandarin effect is part of the Mandela effect. You remembered incorrectly. Some people think it's the Mandarin effect of food, but really it's the Mandarin.
So we're
Well,
already
that
feeling the
actually
effects.
Well, that actually leads into why outside of the humor, maybe this is the reason why the Mandarin effect happens. It's influential because the thing is, you even said yourself when it comes to the mandolin effect that, it's about broken memories. And I think that's not even just a matter of broken memories. The Mandela effect, I think, what became more influential later on when internet came to be because when someone influences what you remember, one slight change to it will make you think that that's exactly what happened when you're younger because they even state that when you remember things there's fragments. So I'm gonna use the one that's probably the most famous one, which is the Berenstein from the A and the E.
Is it a steen or
um
a stain?
well that's the Berenstein bears,
So it's
but the
Stein, Steen, or Stain.
well, no, that's the thing. I don't know. That's what everyone's saying. I think it's pronounced Berenstein
To me,
Bears.
when I was growing up, it was the Bernstein Bears.
See, I never pronounced it that way. From
Yeah, I know that nobody does, but I remember being in school and they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna read the Bernstein Bears." Like
Okay,
when I
but
was a
don't you
little
think
kid.
it's just us being stupid and not remembering
Oh
it
yeah,
correct? Or do
I
you
don't
really
yeah,
believe.
no,
think
I
that?
agree.
Let's be
But that's
real.
funny.
I don't
Because
believe in
okay, let me
anything.
let me break down the Mandela effect a little bit more just so people understand. Basically, the theory is the conspiracy theory is that we are in a alternate universe, right, or a timeline, and things have changed
Where
in
Nelson
ours, so they're not the
Mandela
same as
didn't
we
die
remember them.
in jail.
Yeah, that's how it all started. Was because everyone knows this. If you guys don't know it, go look it up. This isn't a video about what the Mandela effect is. This is what we think about the Mandela effect. So if you're interested, just maybe I'll even link a video in the description if you guys want to know what it is. But yeah, John, what do you think about it?
Like personally, I don't believe in any of this stuff, but like it's a pretty cool theory because I, the Bernstein Barons, whatever they're called, who gives a shit. Uh, to me, I don't remember it ever being Berenstain or even being spelled that way. So that was an interesting one. But like, let's be real. Like, to be honest with you, I actually remember being young and hearing about Nelson Mandela dying in prison too. But that could also have just been conspiracy theories at a time when we didn't have any information like this. Like when I was a kid, we didn't have the internet.
That's that. Yeah, the thing I have to say about that, I don't remember that. I don't remember anyone saying that he died in prison. But the theory that I have behind why people think that that's a a piece of the Mandela effect is because someone probably just said that like someone died in jail, some sort of a political figure, and then broken telephone. It doesn't make sense to me that.
Yeah, and that was at a time when broken telephone was a not. You couldn't just figure out that it was a broken telephone situation. You couldn't just research it and be like, bloop, 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 Google. But now you're just like, Google, what's the Mandela effect? And it's like, you played a mandolin in Italy.
Well, a prime example. Here's another way that I can tell you where, for me, it was a special attention when it came to the Mandela effect that I've actually caused for myself. Um, in particular, was there's something that happened. I used to live in Indiana, in the states, and the
Go
thing
Hoosiers.
is, go Hoosiers, exactly. And there was something that happened. I was with my parents and everything, and my parents watched the news early on when on WGN, and I was actually around. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this, but there was a character named Max Headroom
Yeah.
where he would do commercials, and I was actually there with the first hijacking that happened with the Max Headroom. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, Nikki, I can send you a video that links to that as well. Um, but basically, in my head and everything, the one I saw was much shorter. It was just a short version of video they showed that interrupted broadcast, and then there was one that was done later that I never got to see. The one that was during the Doctor Who on PBS. But for me, for some reason, because of all that, I remember that one. But for some reason, I felt like there were added stuff in there. Like I don't, in my head, I don't remember being the rotating background. I remember it being like a shade that was constantly being drawn to behind him.
Hmm.
And I remember distinctly it being a mask, but I thought the mask was glued to his jaw and his mouth moved. So when I first saw, later on down the road, when internet started doing that video, and I saw that it was different than I remembered it, I still remember that happening, but I remember something distinctly different. And what I think it is in your brain, especially as you get older, a lot of the stuff that people talk about are stuff that they were when they were kids. As you get older, you fragment those thoughts. You take pieces that may have startled you or made you think about it or that you enjoyed about it and combine it with something else. Like the Berenstein thing could have been combined with Frankenstein.
So with
Celeste
what
Rose.
happened to you, you clearly don't think that it was a case of Mandela effect.
No, no, I think that it's what people consider the Mandela effect, where you have broken memory of it. Like for example, I remember it differently,
Yeah,
and I remember distinctly seeing it, but because I put it together differently,
exactly. You
now
don't
when
think
I
it has
see it,
anything to do with an alternate universe.
exactly, because
Yeah.
for me, when I saw it differently until now, and now whenever I see it, I feel like that's what I remember because based on the thing, but I still have that fragmented part of my head that goes, but I remember distinctly one thing being different, and I don't want to be one of those people that say, oh, well, I must have been in another dimension, because I understand how people can get to that thought process because of what happened for me. But at the same time, I go, I was freaking, I don't know how old I was, like in my like 8 or 9 when that happened, and I was young, so
Yeah.
there was no internet for it to continue from there. I saw that it was gone. It never showed for me again, and that's the biggest problem is when people are reading these books and they're talking about the Mandela effect. It's because even with the Forrest Gump one, we didn't have internet back then. Now you're not going to see the Mandela effect happen as much because the reason is because you don't have it constantly being pushed in your face. If I publish one video and it goes viral and everyone starts talking about it, there's always access to that video. But now, since we don't have access, or since back then when we didn't have access to that information, we had to keep it as a stored memory in our head.
And
And
clearly our
unfortunately,
brains don't work as good as we thought they'd do.
exactly. So what we do is we break it up and think it into something differently. And when we break it into something else, and then we may remember one other thing, those two memories may come together. But the one memory that wasn't significant just takes a piece of it, like
Yeah.
Frankenstein, and puts it into the Berenstein Bears title, changing the whole thing altogether and making people go, "Well, clearly I'm not an idiot, so
Well,
this has to be true."
you said a lot of things. I heard some of them. Uh, no, but to think of it like this. So as a kid, I probably read every single bear book that there was. I'm not going to call them by their name. They don't deserve it anymore.
All right.
And there was a show. We used to
Yeah.
watch the show. And I do not ever remember them being called the Berenstain Bears. Why? What kind of name is that? Like, at least if it was Berenstein, I get it. Okay, you got some Jewish bears, but like, well, do they have stains on their pants? Like, I'm so
I don't get it
confused
though.
right
What
now.
do you think the reason for that is? Do you think it's just you remember that incorrectly, or people are just crazy? Because one of the big ones right now is the Seth MacFarlane. His name is actually Seth MacFarlane. It's
Yeah,
not Seth
well, that one I just
MacFarlane.
didn't know. So I mean, it's in
But
his
that's my whole thing. Is maybe
name. Like,
that's
we
how
should
it
have more
was.
common sense.
Maybe it's just the way that they pronounce it. The actors pronounced it in the show. People pronounced it like your teachers. Do you really think that there was something um, going on there, or do you think what's your reasoning
Well,
for it?
there's no reasoning. It's just you just don't. It's little things you don't think about, and then so one day you're talking about it, and you're like, yeah, Seth MacFarlane, and then someone's like, no, it's Seth MacFarlane. Then you look it up, and you're like, holy crap, it's a Mandela effect, bro. The internet.
Alternate universes, dude.
Yeah, but like Bill and Ted smoked a lot of weed and then came up with the Mandela effect. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's things like that. It's like how people quote lines from movies, like, what I'm guilty of all the time. Everyone is, and then you watch the movie and it's completely different. Like,
yeah, like the whole Luke, I'm your father thing. Like
that's the one that got me. Yo, shut up! I can't believe you just said that. The other day I was watching that clip because I didn't even believe it, and he's like, it's like it's not a sentence saying Luke, I am your father. It's like a whole paragraph he says to him. It's not like a quotable line even. It's like, Luke,
Nope.
Yeah, but
I am the one who is
it's
thy
other movies
father
that
for here
quoted
and them
that line.
meridians.
It's other movies that quoted that line that make you think it's Luke, I'm your father.
Exactly, because you have other movies that would say that would try to what they would do is they basically would take everything that was that one scene and shorten it down into one sentence, and then use it in the movie as a joke. So like they would like do a joke in a movie and say, Luke, I am your father, and do the whole thing summed up instead of doing that whole paragraph.
The
like
one
you
that
actually
stands
should
out
be.
to me for that is Tommy Boy when he's speaking into the fan and he's like, Luke, I am
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
That
And then
that's
there was
like
that other. What was that Star Wars parody movie called? Spaceballs or some
the
shit.
greatest movie of all
Doesn't
time.
that happen there too?
Well, I'm sure it does, but they couldn't have the rights to use anything. That's why everything is different.
Yeah. What was the other one? There was another one I was thinking about right now that was actually just like that.
There's a few of them.
There's one from Forrest Gump where he's talking
Yeah, that's
about
that's what I was thinking about. So the Forrest Gump one, everyone's used that line before. The whole life is like a box of chocolates, whatever the thing, and I feel like it's just people thinking that I don't know, just saying it incorrect that it actually was in the movie, and then you think that that's the right line from the movie, and it's just like a misconception of what you thought the movie they said in the movie.
Well, actually, that actually has to do with the movie blaming itself in that situation, and the reason is because there's a guy that actually posted a video proving this. In the movie, the line is different, but if you read on the back of the box, you know how when you watch the old VHSs,
Yeah.
they actually have movie lines.
Yep.
They actually written the line incorrectly on the back of the box. So that's the reason why people started misinterpreting it as life is like a box of chocolates, and that's the reason why. And even their own movie companies screw up their own lines. But at the same time, they said there's a deleted scene where he's actually saying the line the way everyone interprets it, and that got out there.
And you know what's funny? That's a problem that a lot of movies have between the creators, the production company, and the editing and the marketing team. They're all completely separated. So like the marketing team could have watched the version where he said that and then put that quote on the box, and then meanwhile they don't even know that the editors completely changed it to be the way that it is in the movie.
Yeah, and I feel like there's certain people, just like with anything, any type of conspiracy, people who are like full-on believers. So the way I found out about the Mandela Effect was my friend GT was like, you have to look up the Mandela Effect, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you haven't heard about it? I'm like, no. He's like, the Berenstein Bears, man. I'm like, I don't know what the frick you're talking about, man. He's like, okay, I'm gonna send you a video right now. He's like, watch it.
Cinemassacre is the one that did it for me.
That's where that same night I ended up watching Cinemassacre's video on it, and that's actually what made me get into Cinemassacre, believe it or not. So that's the Mandela Effect video.
I was trying to get him into it for years.
Exactly. So but anyway. So I watched these Mandela Effect videos that he sent me. They were like 10-minute videos, no audio at all. These things had millions of views. It literally just like a song playing with like just showing you pictures, and I was like, this is stupid. And I didn't, not one of them. There was one that showed like 50 cases of Mandela Effect, and not one of them I was like, okay, that looks a little weird. Like the Febreze one, I was like, that's a little weird, right? The Febreze spelled a different way, but it didn't make me like not one of them. I was like, yeah, we're in an alternate universe. This is we're clearly an alternate universe. They all just seem like things that we misremembered.
It's bigger than that in a sense that like nobody reads a fucking Febreze bottle.
Yeah.
Right?
So like when you're in your head, you're like, oh, Febreze, okay, and then after they're like, oh, look, it's spelled like this, and you're like, holy shit, my mind's blown. I never read a Febreze bottle before,
Exactly.
but I'm blown still, you know.
Well, it's because we just glance at things when it comes into life anymore. We don't actually focus on what we're seeing. For example, if we see the golden arches at McDonald's, no matter how it might be spelled, whether it has an MAC or just the MC, we see the M from McDonald's and already know what the rest of the spelling is. Our
Yeah.
eyes don't have to fixate on it. And
Exactly.
another one I want to bring up is whenever I talk about, let's talk about movie monsters, okay? Whenever I talk about, for example, the movie monster that's green that has the bolts in its neck, what is his name?
Frankenstein.
No,
Berenstein
it's
Bears.
not. Oh, Berenstein
It's
Bears.
Frankenstein's monster, yeah, but
Exactly.
but that's
It's
because
never Frankenstein in the first place.
the thing is though, I understand that, and a lot of people like can get it why you'd be tricked, but like you're asking Nikki, and like he's not.
Well, no, but that's the reason why.
He
I
doesn't
brought it
know
up
that
way.
to know that.
Yeah,
Like,
but as an example, basically you saying that right there didn't freak me out. It's just like
because
I
he
didn't
didn't know that anyway.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. That's my point. That's what
Yeah.
people do. There's a whole substitution. And again, we talked about it even on your live stream the other day, which I'm not going to get into it, about different things about how people are influenced. And that's a prime example right there. When there was no name for the monster, everyone just automatically started to call him Frankenstein because the movie is called Frankenstein. But Frankenstein is about the doctor, not about the monster as far as the name goes. The whole story is about the Frankenstein's monster, but clearly on the movie it doesn't say Frankenstein's monster. But when you watch the other ones like Werewolf or any of those or The Mummy, it's directly stating the name of the character that's in that movie. So that's where you have to look at it in a bigger picture.
Well,
Is people misinterpret things because even in the director sense, whenever they put things together, they don't think about how people are going to perceive things
yeah.
because people don't put things together in their brain and go, oh, I better remember that this is Frankenstein's monster. His name's not actually Frankenstein. No, they're just like, you know what? It's easier for me just to do it this
Yeah,
way.
but that's
because
what you're saying is similar to like Zelda. It's
yeah,
similar to Zelda.
exactly.
People see
exactly.
Link, they call him Zelda, but his name is
Yeah,
actually Link.
but I don't consider that a Mandela effect. That's just
Well, no,
people
it's
not
not.
knowing.
It's not, but it's similar to what Putty's saying. The fact
Oh,
that
it's exactly
you
what
just,
Putty's saying.
yeah, you call him Zelda, but his name is not Zelda.
It's
his
like
name is Link.
it's like when you watch vampire movies and people are like, it's Dracula. No, Dracula's a specific vampire.
Yeah, that's a vampire.
Not. I get it. I understand that completely, and there's just a lot of stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I don't know. As a whole, it's just kind of. It's more like people are just dumb, and someone made a video. Someone caught on to this thing, okay, and was like, "Wow, this is a pretty cool little what do you call them?
Viral
Like
video?
a conspiracy theory."
Yeah.
And went at it, and then somebody saw how good that video did and made their own, and then someone saw how good that video did and made their own, and then there
Yeah.
was a nice solid month or two there where everyone was just making those videos.
Yep.
And now it's nobody cares about it anymore. It's gone. Mandela Effect is not a thing anymore.
But that's why I
It was just
wanted
a
to make
fad.
this video, because the way I look at the Mandela effect has always been the same way as I'm talking about it now. That it just sounds like a bunch of like, I'm not gonna put on an act and be like, oh, it sounds real. Look at this. Curious George doesn't have a tail. Oh my God, what?
Wait, what?
Like, yeah, the Curious George one. You
Oh
didn't
yeah,
know
he has
about
like a
that?
little nub thing.
No, he doesn't.
No, he
Apparently
doesn't
it's
have it
no
all.
tail.
He has no.
Shut
he
the
never
fuck.
had to tell at all.
So you're telling me
Are
that
you-
is the
are
guy
you
with the
really-
does the
you're
man with the
falling-
yellow
you're
hat
falling
have
for
a
it
yellow hat?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know. The whole thing is just like this. Is there gonna be a Mandela effect for the Mandela effect? Like 5 years from now, is there gonna be another viral moment where everyone's remembering the Mandela effect and that it's happening now and it never happened before? Like, is that gonna be a
No.
thing?
What's gonna happen? In 5 years, everyone's gonna be like, the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect was about something when your stove's broken, and it's just ghosts in your stove. It's not about that. Everyone's gonna be like, no, the Mandela effect was about something else. The Mandela effect is gonna happen on the
So
word Mandela effect.
it's like the Mandarin effect.
Yeah, exactly. And see, that's
Full
the thing.
circle.
And that's the thing, though. I don't think that the Mandela effect and everything, it's going to come back in a different way, though. It's not going to come back where it's a broken memory. Because the reason I feel that way is because, again, for me, the reason that me using that whole, broadcast that happened, the interruption, is because After I saw that, I had nothing else to see it from. I couldn't get on the internet and watch it. They weren't going to re-show it on the news all the time. It just stopped.
Yeah,
They
and at
and I
that
didn't
point of time, people thought it was really a hack.
yeah,
Like
and that's
people
why.
didn't know it was like advertising for a thing that was gonna start happening. Because
No. You have no idea. Okay, I'm thinking you haven't seen what I'm talking about, John.
you're talking
This
about
is
Max Headroom when he pops up on the
right.
TVs, and then it
No,
became a TV show on MTV.
no. No. You must not know what I'm talking about, John. And I will.
No, but
After
I
this, I'll
literally know what
explain.
you're talking about.
No, it's a hack that actually happened in Chicago, Illinois, where this guy
Yeah, that's
hacked
where it
in.
started with Max Headroom.
No, no. Max Headroom happened before this happened.
Okay, yeah, but you're talking about the one where the guy did it, and they never figured out who did it still to this day. But
Right.
recently, people started uncovering facts, and there's a guy who's trying to figure it out, right? There's still a guy who's trying to figure out who did it.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, I know what you're talking about. I'm not talking about Max Headroom. Yeah, okay, so I thought you were talking about Max Headroom the whole time, but yeah, I know what you're talking
No,
about.
I'm talking about the hijacking. I actually saw that, John. I saw the first one that happened on WGN as a kid.
Yeah, they did it out of like a storage locker.
Right, but that's my point. I didn't see it as a storage locker.
No,
That
I
whole
mean they the thing I'm saying is they did all of that hacking out of a storage locker, like
Right,
fucked
I
up.
understand that. But what I'm trying to tell you, that's what I'm talking about. That's why we're talking about the Mandela effect. I saw it differently. I saw his mouth actually move. I saw the background was like a shade. You know how you open a shade and close it? It looked like that to me. I remember it that way. But then when the internet came to be and that video spawned again, it looked different to me. And I said, I didn't remember it being this way. But I remember seeing it as a kid. And that's what I'm talking when I was referring to earlier with the Mandela effect because I didn't have anything else to go by after that, as far as like I was seeing Max Headroom, the actual Max Headroom, and not seeing that anymore because I only saw that one time. But when you have something, I could always go and find it again on the internet because the internet always is going to repeat something. Like if something big happens, like someone hijacks a television station, the next day it's
Yeah,
going to be on the
it's gonna be
internet, and
all
I can
over
see
the
it.
internet. I'll
Exactly,
understand. And then when you did find out about it later, you're like, oh, what the hell? I don't remember this. I get it.
exactly,
There's a
exactly.
whole video of a guy who breaks that down, and like how people are still trying to catch
Right.
those people.
I watched that, and that's my whole point to this whole thing is we're not going to have that same situation years from now
No, of
because
course
we
we're not.
have the internet, and that's why the Mandela effect is such a strong thing for people because they don't understand that it's a broken thing in their head, so they don't want to look stupid, and they don't want to actually think about what happened to me and say, "Oh, I didn't have all that stuff to go by." So I just pieced it together. As I got older, I would live life, and then if someone brought up Max Headroom, the first thing that popped in my head is the hacking thing. But then I was mixing it up with maybe what was happening in that situation. Like maybe I was looking at a blind, or maybe I was seeing someone's mouth move and I thought his mouth moved in the video. Things that could have fabricated my memory. That nowadays it's going to be hard to fabricate that memory when there's live video, and that's what I was talking about with the Mandela effect is the fragments, as people can associate one thing and put it with something that they thought was the way it was, and then for example Frankenstein and Berenstein, and actually confuse it and decide that you know what I'm just gonna put it together in my head and it's got to be right because my brain isn't broken. I don't forget memories like that, but we do. We all forget memories like that, but we are luckily in a day and age where I could say something stupid, put it on the internet, and then forget how I said it, but go back to Twitter and say, "Oh, that's how I said it." But we couldn't do that back in the day, and that's why the Mandela effect really happened in the first place is because of broken memory. But people don't want to live by that. They want to be like, "No, I'm right. I don't have broken memory, so it must be another dimension."
Yeah, well,
And that's
that's just stupid. And like, what really happened? This is what really happened. A billionaire spent years flying around collecting all the Berenstain Bear books. Then he got them all reprinted as Berenstain, and he shipped them out. And it's a conspiracy. Donald Trump is trying to get us. It's Vladimir Putin is out there. He's trying to get us. All right.
It's
This
the
started from
Vladimir
Hitler.
Trump.
He invented those bears, and then like Darth Vader and him met up. That's it.
Okay. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna end the episode here, boys. We're gonna be doing a lot more of these like weird podcasts talking about random things. The audio situation might not be the best right now. We're trying to figure out where we're gonna be doing these podcasts, but It's the first episode, so it'll get better from here. But anyway, guys, to Putty, thank you for being here, brother. If you guys want to check Putty out, make sure you guys check him out at Gamer Potheads on YouTube. And if you guys want to check out Compo, check them out at compo.reviews on Instagram. I'll put the link to both of their channels in the description. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace out.